What's up, guys? How's it going? MikeTheTech here, and today I have a controversial one for you. I'm going to tell you all the reasons why you shouldn't buy an M2 or M3 or M4 or any M Mac Mini or otherwise. I have had a wild experience with this little box here, and while it served my purpose, which I'll explain in a moment, it does have quite a few downsides that some I knew about and some I didn't expect. So let's jump into it. Before we get started, if you're watching this video, chances are you're not subscribed, so be sure to click on that sub button or thanks button below. I also have a Patreon if you want to go check that out. I'll put a link to that in the description, and you'll get access to a bunch of apps that aren't available to the public and a bunch of exclusive videos and shoutouts in videos like this. So, what did I get the M2 Mac for if I don't like the M2 Mac? Basically, it was very, very cheap, and that's not the only reason I bought it. I bought it because I'm an app developer, and I tried to push an app that I had made for a client using my old laptop. And apparently, Xcode has to be completely up to date in order to push an app to the App Store, and the only way to get Xcode up to date is by buying the latest hardware, because they make it they basically force you to upgrade hardware for compatibility because it won't let you install the new versions of Xcode on old systems or old operating systems, and you can't install newer operating systems on old hardware because they're hardware limited. So if you want to actually publish an app onto the iOS App Store, you have to have one of these. Okay, so I publish my apps to the iOS and Mac App Store, so this is important. I got it, and it worked for that purpose. Great. Now I've got this extra Mac lying around and I want to do something with it. Well, what can I do? I've heard all these amazing, wonderful things about the M2 processor and how fast it is. So the first thing I do, of course, is the illegal thing to do and game on a Mac. You're not supposed to game on a Mac because Macs aren't known for gaming, but I've been hearing such great things about the processor and GPU in this Mac that I wanted to give it a shot. And there are quite a few games now that are directly Mac compatible and built for Mac, including games like Baldur's Gate 3, which I was surprised to see. The problem is these games run about as good as they do on my Steam Deck, and that's saying something. Yes, I guess it makes sense. They're around the same price, but I got a screen with that one, right? And it's handheld and a controller and all that good stuff. This is just the Mac, and Macs are more expensive. I get that, but I was expecting a performance kind of powerhouse with this thing, and it is not quite that. So, okay, what can I do with it? I was like, well, I want to maybe use some different programs. I did some video editing. That's not too bad. It's actually pretty performant in video editing, even with only 8 gigs of RAM. However, I was like, all right, well, what other apps can I use if I can't really get games working on it? Maybe I will try and upgrade the GPU. It's got some Thunderbolt ports. Thunderbolts support GPUs, right? Well, no, because no GPU has drivers for Mac M or metal hardware. So even if you were to plug in a 4090 into this, it's not going to detect it or do anything with it. You need an Intel Mac, the older generation Macs, to be able to use that. So technically, an older generation Intel Mac can be more powerful than a current generation metal Mac. Okay, so we can't really upgrade that, and we can't upgrade the hardware, and you're limited. You can't upgrade the RAM, you can't upgrade the hard drive, and you can't upgrade anything else basically in this box. So let's try to hack it. Let's try to put Linux on it, or maybe Windows, right? That's always fun. I've used Boot Camp before. Well, that's out because you can't use Boot Camp on this. It's no longer Intel based, and Apple has ended their support for Boot Camp. So, all right, next best thing. We'll emulate. We'll run a virtual machine inside of the Mac, I guess, and run Windows that way. Well, no. You can do it through Parallels Desktop, for example, except you can't install the regular version of Windows. You have to install the ARM64 version of Windows, which is limited in many ways. Furthermore, when you try and look for Linux distros that will work with it, you're even more limited because you only have a few that actually work, and the few that do work, even fewer are optimized for metal hardware. So like, for example, with Rosetta in, I believe it's Ubuntu has Rosetta, but other than that, you have no other choice or option but to use OS X, and it's not good at a lot of the things it claims to be good at doing. All you can really do on this is video edit and web browse and photo edit, Photoshop. I mean, you can do some media work on it. It's great for that. But man, was this thing hyped. And I was hyped to get it. And I was a little disappointed. So, you know, on the sunny side, on the good side of this is still really good hardware. It's uses less energy than like a light bulb, honestly. I stuck a kilowatt on this thing and it is like using zero energy. It's like 15 watts or something, which is just wild and insane. So it is a very powerful and optimized machine. But if you're looking at it as a new miracle powerhouse, I don't think it's that. I do want to get my hands on a new M4 Mac and try that as well. But on the flip side, on the good side of things, I have found some projects used to port games to Mac, and I'm going to make a video on how to actually port older games to Mac, which I think will perform better than some of the more demanding games of our times, making this still a pretty good buy. But yeah, let me know what you think in the comment section below. Did they severely limit the Mac by switching to metal hardware? And I don't mean aluminum, I mean inside of this thing. Is the M series more limited, and how long is it going to take before it catches up to the compatibility layers that we have on existing Intel based or x86 based and x64 based hardware? That's my question for today. Thank you so much for watching, and hope you have a good one. Peace. Conversations to games to interviews with a broader view. He keeps it fresh, always brings something new. It's MikeTheTech, MikeTheTech, the architect. MikeTheTech, yeah. MikeTheTech, the architect.